Welcome. This is the community meeting for the Pioneer Trail Ski Run Boulevard Workforce Housing Project. We're just going to wait a few minutes and allow everybody to join. We're expecting about 30 to 35 people that will be listening in on the public meeting. Thank you very much for taking the time to join this public meeting. This is the Pioneer Trail Ski Run Boulevard Workforce Housing Project that we're going to be going over tonight. Just a few things to talk about on this process. I know we're all dealing with this health situation that we're in, and again, we appreciate you joining the public meeting. But we'd like to recommend that we treat this meeting as if we were meeting in person. So when you do have the option to communicate your concerns or questions, please do so respectfully, and also be respectful of the other community members that have their opinions. We definitely want this to you to feel open and express your comments. So please be respectful of other people. If you noticed, down here on the screen, at the green arrow, there's the question and answer button. If you float your mouse towards the bottom of the screen, some options will pop up. To the left are the audio settings, and then there's a chat and raise hand. But any communication during the meeting with the panelists, we ask you to do it through the question and answer. You can type your question, or you can also just ask that you would like to get in line for speaking to the group vocally. And through that, we'll be able to go down the line of people at the end of the presentation and answer any questions that we may have. If someone has asked a similar question, we may just quickly address your question that we've talked about it before, but I think that way we can make sure that we hit everybody's questions. And then lastly, this presentation is being recorded, and so it will be available to the group as well as the public after this. So people that didn't get a chance can at least hear the conversation that we had. And there's also going to be a short 3-question survey. So once you close out of the meeting, it will take you to that, and you'll be able to leave any comments that maybe you didn't get a chance to talk about during this meeting, or ask any other questions. So with that, we will go through our group and have everybody introduce themselves, the panelists.
Okay, leading it off. Good evening, everyone. And just to echo Jared, thanks so much, and really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to participate in this online community meeting. My name is John Boccigalupi. I'm Vice President of Development for Pacific Development Group. We're the property owner as well as the developer of this project. A little bit of background on Pacific Development Group. We have been active in constructing affordable housing in the city of South Lake Tahoe for over 40 years. We're currently the owners of the Sierra Garden Apartments on Lake Tahoe Boulevard, as well as the owner of the Evergreen Apartments out by the airport, and other both affordable housing projects, deed restricted. We were also the developer of the Sierra Vista market rate apartments adjacent to the Sierra Garden Apartments, and really look forward to hearing the community's input and responding to your questions tonight on this project. So with that, I'll turn over the introductions to the next panelist.
John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening. I'm John Hitchcock. I'm the planning manager at the City of South Lake Tahoe. Thanks for attending this virtual meeting. The project itself will have to go through the city's entitlement process, and we're looking forward to seeing PDG submit the application sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Patrick?
Hello, I'm Patrick Conway. I am the housing manager for the city of South Lake Tahoe. Just recently returned from the city. Worked here earlier on since the early 90s all the way through 2007. I'm happy to be back here working to develop these important projects. So thank you.
Right, thank you, Patrick. Teresa?
Hi, I'm Teresa Avance. I'm the Senior Planner with TRPA in the current planning division. This project will also need TRPA approval, and I will be the planner reviewing that.
Great. Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen Fink. I'm the Housing Program Coordinator and Housing Ombudsman at TRPA, and just wanted to thank Pacific Development Group for having us, and I'm really excited to have everybody on the call and looking forward to hearing the input.
And hi, I'm Chase Janvrin, the Program Manager with Tahoe Prosperity Center. And yeah, excited to be here as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And Jack?
Good evening. I'm Jack Padden, and just to echo Jared's sentiments, we're glad you are spending your evening with us. We have a passion for housing projects. We're doing a number of them, some market rate, but most are various levels of affordable, achievable workforce. And we have, our focus is always on high qualitative environments, looking for ways to keep cost in line, because that's always a factor. But at the end of the day, when the project's done, just to have both the residents living there in the facility as well as the residents around feel like it's a very nice project that nestles in nice to its setting. So thanks again. We look forward to hearing your comments.
Great, thank you very much. And lastly, my name is Jared Polson. I'm the Senior Planner with Williams & Patton Architect, and I'll be doing some of the presentation tonight as well as being the monitor for the questions. So with that, Chase, if you'd like to speak to us a little bit about the Tahoe Prosperity Center.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. So again, my name is Chase Janvrin. I'm the Program Manager for the Tahoe Prosperity Center. And anyone that's not familiar with TPC, we're the only community and economic development organization for the entire Lake Tahoe region. We've spearheaded quite a few projects over the years, all different kinds, ranging from economic indicator reports to wildfire alert systems, and to now, of course, workforce housing. In 2018, we convened the Housing Tahoe Partnership to bring the right partners to the table to focus on housing solutions that we felt had a lasting positive impact on the community. And the partnership was led by a housing advisory group, which is a coalition of 17 South Shore region jurisdictions, regulatory agencies, nonprofits, employers, regional organizations, and then with input from the public and technical assistance from consultants, we created the South Shore Region Local Resident Housing Action Plan, which is a bit of a mouthful, to help address the local resident housing needs. Now, the Housing Action Plan defines the overall housing needs for our community as dwellings of all types for those who live or work in the South Shore region can afford to purchase or rent, serving the entire range of households and incomes. And this plan prioritizes a variety of strategies that address the full range of local resident housing needs that will be implemented over the next 6 years. In fact, 20 strategies have been identified and prioritized. So this is a summary of the 20 different strategies we identified that will be the primary focus to make an impact as quickly and effectively as possible. And of course, I'm not going to get into each of these now. It's not the time and place for that. But anyone who would like to dig deeper into this, you can find the full reports on our website, tahoeprosperity.org. What I would like to speak to is how this particular project fits into the action plan. And there are two primary components I'd like to focus on. One, how this specific project addresses the greater needs picture, and two, which segment of our community this will serve. So this next graphic summarizes our community housing needs from both a volume and income perspective. So if you see the big number down at the bottom, 3,290, that's the total number of homes we expect to need in the South Shore by 2026 to meet the current and future expected demand. And I want to point out that that's not to say that we need to build this many, right? This is how many we need total. And that could include things like motel conversions, second homes becoming available as long-term rentals, in addition to new construction. The expectation for just new construction is 150 units per year. So a project like this particular project would achieve over half of that annual goal just with one project. So that brings me to who's being served by the development. And the income spectrum that looks kind of like a rainbow that highlights the housing income levels of our community. So one of the key aspects of this project is it'll be solely focused on the, what we call AMI, the area median income bands between 30 and 80%. So those are the households in our community that fall between the very low income and low income spectrum. And I mean, I think we know that that can be some of the most challenging and difficult housing to find in the entire Lake Tahoe basin. So the Tahoe Prosperity Center is very happy to see this type of project being proposed. It falls right in line with what the action plan identified our community needs, and think it will bring a tremendous amount of value to our community and our residents. So we're all for this. And with that, Jared, I'll turn it back to you.
The next section of this meeting presentation just has to do with dovetailing on what Chase was just speaking to, just a little bit more detail as far as the project affordability by household size and income for this project. Just a few more specifics. As you can see, the presentation slide in front of you, we break out household sizes that this project will serve. We have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments planned for this project. And generally, the occupancy standards are that 1 and 2 person households would occupy a 1 bedroom house, 3 and 4 person households would occupy a 2 bedroom unit, and 5 and 6 person households would occupy a 3 bedroom unit. So the chart on this slide shows you household incomes, actually the area median income for each of these households. The El Dorado County 2020 area median income for the various income levels the project will serve. As Chase indicated, the project will serve households making 30% of the El Dorado County median income, all the way up to 80% of the El Dorado County median income. So you can see the chart showing incomes at each of those levels. Just a few more comments to sort of tie the information on the slide, less quantitatively, but maybe more qualitatively into the community's well-being and some of the critical needs of the community as they relate to affordable housing. We believe that this distribution of incomes that the units for this project will be restricted at will address a critical housing need within the community. Really household incomes to which the project will be leasing to will be restricted to those that, we feel are currently underserved in the community. And as some of the information in the housing action plan details, I think that, there's evidence of such households being underserved. Second point I just wanted to make to tie out these numbers, this band of incomes to be served will enable residents to both live and work in the community. It'll address the needs of many workers in the local economy who currently have to endure the added stress of living in a community outside of South Lake Tahoe, yet having to commute to a job within South Lake Tahoe. And finally, just timely, and the last point on this slide, this project will be affordable enough to serve to a great extent the community's essential workers. And we all know that that's become sort of a buzz term now with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, but really this project is intended for households with essential workers in them. And that really ranges from jobs such as tourism, recreation, and gaming economy, retail, and restaurant positions, as well as some entry-level professionals in the community, and finally, many areas of government, including the education sector, teachers, and employees of the community college instructors, school district employees, etc. So just wanted to give an overview and relate the targeted households of this project to the overall community, and we're looking forward to serving these households. So
Great.
that'll turn it back to Jared.
Great. Thank you very much, Sean. Moving on, what we thought we'd do is just kind of look at the big region and zoom into where our project is. And our project is, as been mentioned, is located in the South Lake Tahoe, city of South Lake Tahoe boundaries, and it will be subjected to the requirements of the city as well as TRPA, as was mentioned earlier. Again, zooming in a little bit closer, we do have Highway 50 or Lake Tahoe Boulevard that's on the north side, and then Pioneer Trail comes along here up to our project site, and then Ski Run Boulevard leads to the project. And then zooming in again, just the local context, we do have David Lane on the south side, Ski Run Boulevard on the west side, and then Pioneer Trail again cutting across that leads down into more of the city center. This Ski Run Boulevard that's here, it's really anchored by the new grocery store and some of the restaurants that are out on that side along Highway 50, and then it heads up to the ski resort. This project is part of the Tourist Core Area Plan that was established in October of 2013. And really the intent of this was to establish a vision for the area, and especially in the area that has the highest concentration of services as well as population density. And this also established a unique town center overlay, which is what this pop-out is of this area, which our project is the south anchor of that area. So zooming in again, this area in the light purple is the tourist center mixed use corridor. And so that really goes along both sides of Ski Run Boulevard. And the intent of this district was to support this area as a multimodal mixed use corridor that is very pedestrian friendly. And one of the things that really supports pedestrian friendly development is having a higher density of people. So having the ability to live and work in this area as well as walk along the streets is a vision that the plan set forth, and having a project such as this with a multifamily use really supports that use. And again, the intent is to be a mixed use, exciting community. There recently was, in April, there was an amendment to this plan that brought in the 3 parcels to the east of the site into this Tourist Core Area Plan, meaning that the entire project is under the same zone as it's being reviewed moving forward. So now we're going to have John Hitchcock talk a little bit more about some of the transportation in the area, as well as some of the improvements along Pioneer Trail.
Thank you, Jared. So the image that you see on the screen right now is a map that was adopted in the Tourist Core Area Plan that depicts the existing transportation infrastructure and proposed improvements that will be implemented over the years. You can see that the site currently is well served by a fixed transit route, which runs down Pioneer Trail and also up and down Ski Run Boulevard. But in the future, the city will be bringing forward additional improvements, including implementing bike routes and pedestrian sidewalks. Can you go next slide, Jared?
Yep.
So right now, in the summer 2020, the city will be extending the construction of the sidewalks along Pioneer Trail that currently right now stops at Larch, and it'll be extended all the way down to Ski Run Boulevard, sidewalks on both sides of North and South Pioneer Trail, and then also to restripe Class 2 bike trails. So basically, that project will link this particular site to the service centers down by State Line and to our employment centers.
And then, John, did you want to talk about? I know some people that live in the area just wanted a brief overview of the Ruby Way project.
Yeah, so right now the city has a stormwater erosion control project proposed in the vicinity of Ruby Way. Currently, the negative deck, the initial study is being circulated, and this project will be considered by the Planning Commission in July for adoption of the neg deck as well as the project. But the Ruby Way project is intended to collect stormwater, treat it, and reduce erosion to Lake Tahoe.
That's great. And just to clarify, that is completely separate from this particular project, the housing project, but it was requested. A few people had questions about if that project was related to this. So moving forward, just giving you an overview of the site. Pioneer Trail is on the north side. Ski Run, again, is on the west side. David Lane here in the back. And then there is an easement, an access easement for the residential lots that are along this side. But there is an easement that provides access to these sites. There is a pretty significant slope to the site, which is pretty common for the area, but there is a 45-foot change in elevation from this back corner to the corner of Pioneer Trail. The zoning that we just went through allows up to 25 units per acre and potentially up to 70% coverage. And it also allows up to 40 or 56 feet of construction, or maxed out at 4 stories. There are setbacks that are required from the David Lane residential properties. Any project that's adjacent to a residential needs to have a 10-foot setback. And then there's a 20-foot setback from Pioneer Trail. And then in the more commercial areas, there is a 0 lot line that's allowed. But just wanted to let everybody know that we are respecting to all those designated setbacks. And so we're not asking for a variance on those at this time. Just a few photos of the area. We have if we're at Pioneer Trail, Ski Run Boulevard intersection looking up, we have Heavenly Valley Lodge just to the adjacent property. And then across the street, we have the fire station as well as the another apartment complex. Looking down Pioneer Trail, this gives you a view of what the current conditions are. As John mentioned, this is where the new sidewalk and bike lanes will be added in the future. And then this is looking the opposite way towards the intersection. This is the access easement looking along the side property. And then the one to the right is the high point of the site looking back towards Pioneer Trail. As you can see, the site has a lot of mature trees, which we feel is a very big asset to the site. These are the homes along David Lane that are, their properties are directly adjacent. And this is the fence line that separates those properties with this site. And then lastly, there are a few existing structures on the site, but they are in disrepair, and the intent is to remove those. So again, looking at the aerial of the project, again, pointing out the access easement on this side, as well as the corner down here of Pioneer Trail and Ski Run. This is the proposed layout that we're looking at for the project. So we're looking at the achieving 79 units, which is a mix of 1s, 2s, and 3s, as was mentioned earlier on the site. And we're also looking at having 103 parking stalls, which equals about 1.3 parking stalls per unit. Because of the slope of the property, we do have an advantage, meaning that it doesn't all have to be surface parking. And as I'll show a section in a second, but there is the opportunity to have tuck under parking to reduce some of the site coverage, which will allow us to retain more of those mature trees, but also provide some sheltered parking for the area. There is this area down here at the corner on the ground floor. There will be a community room and amenities for the residents. And what that will be is laundry services, a meeting room, and those maintenance and that type of stuff will be located at the corner of the property. How this site is currently laid out, we're still still in the design phases, but we're looking at about a 64.5% site coverage. And we're always trying to do a cut and fill balance so that we avoid any import or export on the site. And then again, the goal for that is to maintain the public trees, especially back here as it's adjacent to the property. And then we'd also be improving the access easement along here. So, and the residential units on this side, the single family would be able to have access onto that, and that's where their entrance and exit would be. So this is a conceptual section through the site. So if we go the residential units on the right side and Pioneer Trail on the left, doing a transverse section, by being able to cut into the site, we're able to have tuck under parking under the center building as well as the upper building. And then we'd have, in this area here is where we'd have parking for the lower building that would be surface parking. But again, what that allows us to do is maintain as many of the mature trees as we can, especially back here along the edge as a buffer between the residential units as well as along Pioneer Trail. The heights of the building, we are having the tallest building would be in the center. And the reasoning for that is just so that we don't have a large building next to the residential units. So having a 2-story at the back and the front and having the higher density building in the center. So looking at some conceptual perspectives, we are looking at using natural materials, having that warm wood look. So this would be a warm wooded composite siding that would tie into the natural features of the site, and then having potentially a board and batten as well, and then some metal highlights. But this is looking at the upper side of the building. And then coming around to the underside, you'd see the same materials, but being able to have that tuck under parking, again, allows us to reduce the surface parking on the site. There are some regulations we have on roof pitches. And so the way the code is written, we have to have 5 and 12 or greater for 50% of the roof. So you can see that we're meeting that with some smaller areas of a lower pitch. And then these are the front on elevations and the side elevations. But again, this would be the view on the upper side, the uphill side, and then the lower side, having that tuck under parking. And then you can see how it kind of works its way into the site in this side elevation. So quickly, the floor plans. Conceptually, we're going to have, for the upper building, we'd have the center be the 1-bedroom units. And then on the corners, we'd have 3-bedroom units and 2-bedroom units. And then the thought is to have some of the more living room spaces on the corners so they can take advantage of views and light and air. That's very important for multifamily living. And then lastly, this is a conceptual perspective that of the entry when you're on Pioneer Trail, and really trying to, as we've mentioned a couple times before, but working the buildings into the site so that they aren't really peaking above the trees, that they're worked into the forest, and maintaining as many of the natural mature trees as we can, and then trying to limit or minimize the surface parking by having that tuck under parking on the end. And then again, really trying to reinforce the city's vision of having a pedestrian friendly environment. So with that, we'd like to open up to questions and comments. I'm seeing some come in now through the chat. If you'd like to speak vocally, this is the time that you can do that. Just please, and the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen, if you wouldn't mind just mentioning you'd like to speak, and then we can take the chance to unmute. But so just a couple minutes, we'll wait as you're typing in your questions, and then we'll begin the question and answer period. So as we're, let me go back. I'll read the first question. So Kelsey McParland, she asked the question, on David Lane elevation, is the front elevation or the rear elevation facing the David Lane residential homes? So on between the fence line that we showed, this is the elevation, this typical front elevation. That's what would be on the rear side of the David Lane homes. And then for the parking would be on the opposite side. So if I go back to the section, the David Lane homes would be just to the right of the screen. And then that's where we're saying the front elevation because that's where some of the entries are, the grade level entries, but the parking would be on the underside on the opposite. And so there would be an entrance for those people that park here. They'd be able to come into the site. But to answer the question, that this facade is what would be facing the David Lane. Kelsey also has another question. It says on the corner that it's adjacent to David Lane, we noticed the structure is only 10 feet from the property line. Is there flexibility on that? And can you increase the distance? So what we tried to do to answer that question, let me go back to the site plan. So we are working with the grading right now. We have a very good civil engineer on the board. And so we're looking at how we can deal with those grades. And we're looking at how we can potentially push the building down further into the site so that we can have more of a buffer along David Lane. But we are working through that, and we appreciate the comment, and we are definitely trying to keep that buffer so that there are trees and space in between. And really the only pinch point is right here. And again, we're trying to push that into the site as we work with the grading. And Kelsey, if you want to send me a note and let me know if I answered your question sufficiently. The next question, John, I'm going to, John with Pacific Development, I'll ask it for you, but this is from Georgina Balkwell, I'm sorry about that. She asks, many of the potential renters will have pets. Have you considered what the pet policy will be?
So, excuse me. So the pet policy for this project is something that will be more clearly detailed at a later date. It's really a policy that is really at the beginning of the thought process on what a pet policy should look like. How to accommodate, say, service dogs, or service animals in general. So right now, really, I can only say that it's a policy that will evolve as the project evolves and comes closer to fruition. I will say, though, to Georgina, as to her question, that many of the funding sources that this project might be applying for to bridge the funding gap that all affordable housing projects typically have. Many of these funding programs, since they're state programs, have to actually comply with the Pet Friendly Housing Act of 2017. That's actually California Health and Safety Code 50456, which would require, as a condition of tapping into any of these funding programs, that residents, be known that, or I guess really what would require the project to comply with would be to authorize one pet per resident, as well as abiding by the other requirements of the Pet Friendly Housing Act of 2017. So the specific policy specific to this project regarding pets still evolving, but there are some legal and regulatory overlays the project might be subject to that would require us to accommodate pets on the part of the residents. So I think that's the answer currently to Georgina's question that I can offer.
Okay. Thank you, John. Georgina, if you want to send me a note, let me know if that satisfies your question that you have. And while waiting for her comment, Kelsey McParlin had another comment. what she is asking, she says there's a lot of trees being removed on the current conceptual plan and a lot of surface lot for parking. Has there been any thought to build a parking structure vertically? So Jack, I can give a few comments, and then if you want to join in on this as well, and then John with Pacific Development, if you have any others to add in. Really what we're trying to do is utilize the site as efficiently as possible, and definitely maintain all those trees, because we feel that that is a strong asset to the site and the surrounding area. So making sure that we can retain as many of those mature trees as possible. And for structured parking, we are looking at putting that tuck under parking, like we've said, so that we are minimizing the amount of surface parking. And we are currently exploring options to potentially park even more underneath the structures. Jack, is there anything else you feel like we could add to that?
Maybe talking a little bit about the pragmatics of a parking structure. You have to basically have to have two double widths of parking, which is about 120 feet across, and work your way up. So it's in a small site like this, it's a huge footprint even to start a parking structure. It really doesn't fit. The other concern is parking structures per stall are currently costing $40,000 to $50,000 per stall. So it doesn't fit with an affordable project. Parking structures are more suitable for denser projects like the casinos down State Line and larger projects like that, where you can have the flat footprint area to actually build a structure. So I hope that answers your question, but it's really not a practical consideration for this small of a project.
Great, thanks, Jack. John, do you have anything to add on that?
I think that Jack and yourself covered that topic well. As a developer, I would just echo some of the comments about pragmaticism, controlling project costs, as well as just how a very large monolithic parking structure, with or without housing built over the top of it, would really compare to sort of the scale of the existing neighborhood relative to the proposed site plan that we've been reviewing on this meeting. So
great, thank you, John. That I think that helps a lot. Please send me a note and let me know if that answers your question. So there's a few more questions. So Kelsey had another one. What is the square footage of each individual structure? So I don't necessarily have the square footage in front of me, but if you give me a little bit, I can look that up, and I can supply that information as we go through this. So maybe John, you might have that information in front of you?
As to the total gross square footage of each of the buildings, I don't have that calculation, but something that could be helpful and potentially informative to the question as a response would be the unit sizes. So currently the 1-bedroom units are planned to accommodate plus or minus 700 square feet. The 2-bedroom units will be approximately 800 square feet in size, and the 3-bedroom units will be approximately 1,100 square feet in size. So just a little bit of background, but unfortunately, I don't have an accurate gross building square footage calculation for each one of the 5 buildings, though. But
right.
Certainly that's something that will be will have to be disclosed and considered as part of the city major design review application, as well as the TRPA multifamily dwelling permit application. So
exactly. And then we've really tried, as I mentioned earlier, is to break up the buildings so we don't have one giant monolithic building on the site, but really try to break them down into smaller buildings so that it does fit within the neighborhood community a bit better. And then also the taller building would be in the center, so that the two-story buildings could be on the Pioneer Trail side as well as the David Lane, backing up to the David Lane. So hopefully that answers your question, but getting into the next one, Laura Dunn asks, will their rooftops be higher than the roof lines of the homes on David Way? And I can take a shot at that. I think it would be, let me get to the site section. So as I mentioned, there's a 45-foot difference from the lowest portion of the site to the highest. And the building that would be on the backing to the David Lane homes, we'd be about plus or minus 32 feet, which allows for 2 floors plus the sloped roof. And in all honesty, it varies because some of the homes are taller will be taller and others will be probably even, but we'd have to do a kind of analysis of each of those buildings. But the intent is to have that upper building to be shorter, so that we are maybe not exactly, but pretty close to the same height as most of the 2-story homes that are backing David Lane. Jack, any additional comments on that, or do you?
So what we can do and what we will do as we develop this is cut a section through each residence. We won't necessarily have the exact height of your building, but just we have the footprint, and we can judge the roof line. So we will have a section that will show each of the houses that border the property. Keep in mind the grade still continues up the hill. So at the property line, the property line is not quite a full story higher than our lower finished floor, but I think we'll find, and we need to cut the sections to say for sure, but I think we'll find that in all cases will be lower than all of the buildings on David Lane.
So getting into the next question that Laura had, and John, this would be for you. Will the residents be limited to only those working in California?
So this is something that, this is a question that I do not know a definitive answer to. I do know that circumstances may vary when it comes to federally assisted housing programs. I believe that depending upon the form of federal assistance, you could potentially have situations where a housing project might be restricted to I believe it's at least one member of the household being a U.S. citizen. I believe there may be other federal programs in existence where immigration status really isn't a screen for eligibility. I'm not sure. There could be some agricultural labor type programs out there. So I don't have a definitive answer to the question, but it's something that will definitely, whatever the requirement for this project, it's something that it'll have to meet the requirements of, when it comes to the waiting list, terms of the leases the residents will sign, and so forth. So that's some context, some background information, but unfortunately, I don't have an exact answer to that question.
Okay. Thank you, John. So Kelsey McParland has another question that I'll go over. So it says, what are your plans for landscaping? Will you be adding any trees, bushes, or landscaping along the David Lane fence line? Jack, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think in particular, and one of the reasons we've, well, let me go back. One of the, we don't have a topographical survey to show you tonight, but basically the buildings are running parallel to the existing topography, and that minimizes our cut and fill. It also keeps the overall height of the building down relative to natural grade. But on the David Lane side, we are looking to maintain the character of the tree canopy. They're mostly Jeffreys. I can't remember up there. There are some mixed firs on the site as well. But to maintain that canopy and really not to do too much in the understory, keep it fairly natural looking, fairly open. I guess what I would say is, if there was a particular interest of the neighbors to plant, a screen hedge wall along the existing fence, something like that, we could entertain that. But our general notion is to keep it looking fairly natural, especially on that upper reach. As we get to the middle of the site, we do have more development, and we will be planting new trees as appropriate, and so that over time, we reestablish the sense of the tree canopy that exists now. And then the understory will be very native or adaptable plantings that do well in the understory with minimal water requirements and that type of thing, do well in the snow. So the real goal is to make the landscape look like it's been there for a while, and have to say very honestly, in the middle of the site, we will have a fair amount of new landscaping. On the edge of the site, we're trying to maintain the existing sense of both the tree canopy and the minimal understory. But in time, in 5, 10, 15 years, it looks like it's all naturalized again would be the goal. So if there's a specific question, concern, comment, we'd be very open to understanding your concerns, your thoughts, your requests, and seeing if we can incorporate them into the project.
Hey, Jared, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
So the project is going to have to comply with the water efficient landscape ordinance that the city council will be considering in June, as well as the state mandate model water efficient landscape ordinance. And generally, in most cases, that type of the preference is towards leaving using native vegetation, using native species, and reducing the amount of turf in order to reduce the amount of water being used for landscape irrigation. And so that's something that will be considered as part of this project.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, if I could just add some of the financing sources this project may utilize, also require that it follow the landscape design and irrigation design, follow the state model water efficient landscaping ordinance as well. So,
John, sorry, I think you cut out just for a little bit. Can you say that last part again, please?
oh yeah, just quickly, I was just going to add to John's comment that some of the financing sources that are being considered for this project would also require that the project meet the landscaping and irrigation requirements of the state model water efficient landscaping ordinance. So you've got not just a local and state sort of policy overlay, but some financing program overlays too as to the landscaping requirements.
Okay, great, thank you. So John, while we're talking to you, Laura Dunn wanted to clarify on her question about if only California residents would be able to live in these. One of her main questions is about Nevada workers, not necessarily if you're a U.S. citizen, but is it only limited to California residents? So I don't know if you can speak a little bit to that, or if it's about the same.
Sure, sure. Sure, I can. And apologies, Laura, for misunderstanding your original question. But I believe that Nevada residents could occupy the project as one of the households it will serve. So I do not believe that there is a California state residency requirement that this project would be subject to.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Laura, please send us a note and let us know if that that helps answer your question. And then Kelsey, she has a few more questions. So let me read this latest one. She says, as the city is aware, there has been a lot of pushback on vacation rentals in the area. What is the reasoning for putting local projects in the tourist core? Are there any thoughts to change the existing tourist core plot lines? John, is that something that you can talk to? And maybe Teresa, you might be able to talk to that in a larger sense.
Currently, there are no plans to expand the tourist core boundary. The amendment that we did take forward was, the result of a request by Pacific Development Group to amend the plan in order to accommodate affordable housing. But currently, the city does not have any plans to expand the current boundary as it's currently adopted. Okay. And the intent of the amendment was to facilitate affordable housing and not necessarily vacation home rentals. And currently the city's ordinance on VHRs prohibits vacation home rentals in multifamily units to begin with.
And as far as the tourist core area plan having residential projects here, the tourist core area plan and all area plans are designed to encourage mixed use and multi use types. And multifamily is one of those things that's encouraged in these areas for purposes of being close to other amenities that the area plan affords.
Great, thank you. So the next question is from Laura Dunn. She asks, is the city of South Lake Tahoe providing any subsidies for this project? Both Johns, maybe you could take turns speaking to that.
I'll defer to Patrick, our housing program manager.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, at this point, there's been no formal commitment, but it certainly is something that we are looking at, providing an opportunity to provide some of the gap financing for this project, as we've done for many other projects that have been developed within this community.
Yeah, and I would just add to that Pacific Development Group is currently in negotiations with the city to craft an affordable housing agreement that would be brought before the city council for action. And among the subjects the affordable housing agreement is intended to address would be city funding, among other policies and components of this project. So it is. So it's a situation that is in flux at the moment, but is definitely something that is being considered by all stakeholders involved in the project. So
great, thank you. So that comes to the end of our questions. Georgina, you had asked to speak, but then you resended your question. So I don't know if you still wanted if you wanted the chance to speak. If so, send us a note. And then if anybody else that's listening in, if you have questions, please let us know. We have a couple more minutes on the meeting time, and we're here and available to answer any questions you may have. So we'll wait a couple more minutes, and if we don't see any more questions, then If it's okay with the panelists, then we'll end. Looks like we have a few more questions that are coming in. So Frank Leal asks, is there a projected start date for the project? John, do you want to touch on that one? John with Pacific Development. I'm sorry, you're on mute. Give me one.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yes, a common deficiency on these types of meetings. Yes, the plan would be to start construction of the project, clear and grub and demolition of the existing structures on the site, spring into summer 2022. So that is what we're expecting currently as far as start of construction.
Great, thank you. Julie Ryan asks, she says, what year did you say the sidewalk work would be completed? So John Hitchcock, we had mentioned when it was going to be started, but do we have a projected completion date?
Probably done by 2023, so we'd start the summer 2022 and complete by 2023.
Okay. Great, thank you. Jennifer Gunther asks, she says, will you please provide contact information at the end? We can definitely do that so that we can be in touch. So we have your email address, and we can keep you apprised of any future public meetings or projects or meetings that are associated with this project. And then Kelsey McParland, she asks again, what is the timeline to finalize the architectural plans? So we're, as John mentioned, we're currently in the design process, and there's still the environmental review that needs to be done, as well as submissions to both TRPA and the city. So really depending on how we go through that process is when the actual architectural plans will be starting. But we're starting to move into those now. So and it will take could take up to a year, but we're still working through what the timeline is on that.
Yeah. So we would hope to expedite the processing of this application to the maximum extent. I'll just note that the process for reviewing and approving the tourist core area plan amendment that has been alluded to during this meeting, that was from start to finish about a 5-month process. So we're hopeful that, once we have a complete application to be submitted, that that same dynamic will exist for these upcoming approvals. So.
Great. And then just Kelsey and Laura both have similar questions, but they're asking when the next public meeting is, as well as any other opportunities that they'll have to contribute to the process. John, can you talk a little bit about what you feel the public interaction would be moving forward?
Well, that's something that as of this date, this meeting has been the meeting that has thus been scheduled. But we could consider some sort of interaction with the public, regarding comments, particularly, on the applications once the applications have been submitted. But at this point, really, this is the only community meeting that's been scheduled. So I think that gives an overview of currently where we are, in terms of community meetings and public workshops. But certainly, as Jared alluded to, the members of the development team, could certainly, working collectively, address, comments or concerns that could arise, after this meeting is concluded. So. collaboration and informing the community is something that we're holding high as a really as a priority as we process the applications for this project. So
thanks, Sean.
I can also chime in because it's a major design review. It will go through our public review process, which is taking it to the Planning Commission for consideration. So there'll be opportunities for the public to also comment and provide input during the project review phase.
Teresa, you wanted to?
Yeah, same with the RPA. This project will require full governing board review as well. So there will be a public hearing before our board. And the project can be concurrently reviewed between TRPA and the city staff, although it doesn't always line up exactly. So there will be multiple opportunities during the review at one or the other to provide comment and feedback.
Thank
so
you.
If I could say too that we are very open to any comments along the way, questions along the way. We as Williams and Patton may not have the answer directly or have the ability to answer directly, but we'll make sure it gets passed on to someone who can provide answers. So we would welcome and encourage any thoughts that come along or questions that come along in between now and whenever our next public meeting is.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
I was just also going to add that TRPA maintains a email list, particular for people that are interested in projects related to housing. So we alert people when housing related projects are going to our board. So we can, if anyone's interested, they can send their email to you and you can pass it on to us.
Will do. Thank you. So I think we've answered that question. The next question that Kelsey has is, how long do we expect the build to take from start to finish? Maybe Jack, what is your, just from our experience in the area, how long do you feel the construction process will take?
So fundamentally, weather is always, remember a year ago May, we had a dump of snow after a pretty warm April. And so when we can get started on a project and then we better know the end date in October, but it fundamentally is that most projects are 2-season at a minimum. We're not necessarily looking at modular on this project, but we're always looking at modular as a possibility. The modular products are becoming much more accessible and with quality and both timing. And I just say that because that's one technology. We're looking at modular for a housing project on the North Shore. It's one technology that could potentially get us if we got we're able to get an early start on the foundations, we could be weather tight and continue working through the winter on the interior. But fundamentally, I think the textbook answer is it's a 2-season project as we look ahead. 2 building season project.
Great.
Yeah, I would just second Jack's assessment. This is the project that I feel with or without modular probably would not be completed until sometime in 2023, aligning with the second available construction season window that would be available to the project after the 2022 construction season. So
great, thank you. So that's the last of the questions that are up on the list. I guess we'll wait a minute, and then I guess John with Pacific Development Group, do you have any final comments? So maybe you can think about that. So Laura just asked one more question, but she said, will the property be fenced? So I think as of right now, that's not the intent to fence the property. John, did you feel that it would be fenced, a fenced project?
Are you talking to John Pacific Development?
No, yes, please.
Sure. Currently, we haven't envisioned the perimeter of the project being fenced.
Mhm.
So, no current thinking at the moment, regarding fencing. So,
Right.
and certainly if we did consider any fencing, such fencing would have to meet city and TRPA requirements regarding the installation.
Right,
of it.
exactly. Okay. So with that, I think that's the list of questions that have been asked. Does anybody have some final comments as we're closing out this meeting?
I could, yeah, if nobody else
yeah.
does, I could just offer some brief closing comments.
Okay. Yeah, please do so, John.
Sure. So first of all, I appreciate the participation of everyone who joined this community meeting. I just want to emphasize that our process of obtaining the approvals for the project through construction and occupancy is one that we envision as a close and open and honest collaboration with the community, with the local decision makers at the South Lake Tahoe City Council, TRPA, and all other agencies that may be an agency with authority to review the project. We've owned this property outright, several of these parcels for some time. We've made a long-term investment through the ownership of these parcels that carries through to our commitment to obtain approvals and eventually construct this project. We're not a developer that controls properties via short-term, easy to exit, option agreements, and with no vested interest in the community. So with those thoughts, I just want to say thanks again for everyone's participation, and keep plugged into the process, and just look for in the near future, the applications being filed for this project, which will provide additional opportunities to review and further scrutinize it. So, but we believe that ultimately it will be a project that will provide great value and address critical housing needs that exist currently in the South Lake Tahoe community.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that explanation, John. So we actually have one final question, and we'll close the meeting. But this comes from Kelsey McParland again. She asks, have we considered an increase of traffic on Pioneer as a result of the additional parking at this complex? Will there be plans to do more construction or better manage the traffic lights at the intersection as it gets backed up in the winter at that light? So I can answer a little bit about that. We definitely will have to have a traffic impact study as part of this, the environmental review process. So we will be looking at that. And then as John Hitchcock mentioned, there is some improvements that are going on the street, on the street with the sidewalks as well as the bike lane. And there is going to be a left-hand turn pocket that's going to be entered in there. So between the city's planned work and as well as the traffic impact study, we will be looking at what traffic impacts have on the immediate area.
Yeah, and I would just add that the project will be subject to the environmental review requirements of both CEQA via the city major design review application that'll be submitted, as well as TRPA's own environmental review process regarding the TRPA multifamily dwelling unit application. So really not just one, but two environmental review processes the project will be subject to. So.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for participating. And with that, we'll close out the meeting. Again, once you close out, there'll be a short survey. It's a 3-question, just really asking if you have any additional comments. So if something didn't get answered, you'll have a chance to answer those or ask those then, and we can respond. And then we have your email address, so we'll be able to keep you apprised of any information as we go forward. And then please keep an eye out as the project goes through the submission process for those other opportunities to speak your questions or concerns. And then, yes, Teresa.
Since you have the email addresses, will you be providing updates by email as far as when these things are happening?
Yes, we can do that. That is correct. Okay, and then again, this message or this meeting was recorded, and so it can be shared with others at a future date. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.